Good morning, everybody. MMA Junkie Radio back in your life on a Monday morning. Doing our little pre-show today. What's that, Danny?
It's President's Day.
It's President's Day. Happy President's Day, everybody.
This is the date that all the presidents are born on. That's how we know that they're able to be the president, right?
Wait a minute. I just had this conversation this morning. So it's Lincoln and Washington's birthday, right? Remember when we were kids, they would do 2 days, and then they just said, let's just do one and call it President's Day, right?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what it is. Because somebody today told me that it represents all of the presidents, and that's not true. But now that you say something stupid like that, Danny, no, thank you. Now I'm starting to know. Well, George is saying that that you're wrong, so take that.
Well, clearly I'm wrong.
Well, I don't know, because I've never ever heard that, and I just heard that this morning, and now I'm hearing it from you, so I'm thinking, all right. Was I the idiot this whole time? It was really everybody else's birthdays?
And you'll never know.
Lincoln's birthday is the 14th. Washington's the 21st.
Yeah.
So they decided to pick a date kind of in the middle and just say it's President's Day instead of 2 days off.
Hmm.
What do they care? Now that's like info as of 20 years, 30 years. Maybe they did add an addendum like, you know what? They're all great. Put them all in there.
Don't say that.
Well, I don't know, because I'd hate for someone to call in and go, you missed it. You know, you missed the memos. What happened? Maybe, but I don't think that's what happened.
And Danny, you're just joking, right? Or you really thought that maybe that could be the possibility?
No, I was really just joking.
Okay. Because I don't want that to be a thing and me not know this whole time that it's been like
I kind of hope that it was some weird way right now.
On today's show, we're going to be recapping the Bellator event this weekend, along with the UFC, and we touch on some LFA, right?
Yes.
What else went on, George? It's Cage Warriors.
Cage Warriors had a card. Amasu, the French guy, won. And the NBA All-Star game took place. I think the final score combined was 375 points. They were scoring like 50 a quarter each team. At least 45 a quarter each team, something like that.
They were going to get stun gunned, and then somebody did something so dumb this morning that I had to put the NBA All-Star game on the back burner, and this person's going to get my wrath.
Oh, yeah?
Up in a minute.
Danny, you got your stun gun? Oh, yeah, you drunk guy?
Yeah.
What about you, George?
I'll have to think about it. I don't have it off the top of my head.
All right. All right, we're going to put everyone back on hold here for a second because we got about 40 seconds. Right, Danny?
Yep.
Show will be starting soon.
Stun gun, huh?
Count up in 10. Stand by.
Okay.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMAjunkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMAjunkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goze. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yes!
The MMAjunkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMAjunkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMAjunkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goze.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, this is the MMA Junkie Radio Show. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goze. Ari's co-host, and back east, he's going to handle all the producing duties. It's going to be Danny. What's up, guys? Nice weekend?
Yeah, it was pretty good. How about yours?
Not bad.
A lot of combat sports, so I was happy with that.
Some combat sports. I was also getting some fighting in. I was at the dealerships trying to fight for a good deal, trying to get a new car, a used car, a different car.
Oh, you're in the market for a used car too?
I'm willing to do that. Sammy the Squid had told me about CarMax a long time ago.
But the last owner could have been a maniac.
He could have been, yeah. So what CarMax did do is offer me the most for my trade-in. So I'll probably do business with them there. And while I was there, because it's packed in there, dude. It's like a little mini mall. I mean, there's chairs and salesmen and people, and I just didn't think it was that popular. So, you get there and you say you want your car appraised, and it takes about an hour. Or maybe it was a busy day. Who knows? In the meantime, I'm just kind of walking the floor, and then I went outside and started doing the math and thinking, maybe getting a used car might not be the end of the world. So I'm in the market for both, but I'm leaning towards new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing you have to say if you get a used car is you got to tell them, show me the Carfax.
Correct. And it all depends on how close you are under warranty, how long you plan on keeping it. Everybody has a different game plan. A lot of people say the minute you buy a new car, the depreciation is through the roof. Well, I did some homework, and the cars I would be driving off the CarMax lot, because it's no haggle. Well, guess what? There's some depreciation there, too, because I looked up cars, cars' values, and they're jacking it up a little bit, too. So it's kind of it's a little bit more on par with what people tend to think.
So CarMax is what it is. Whatever they come back and say, this is the price. There's no how about.
Right. And with new cars, there's so many rebates. It kind of depends on how pushy you are and what time of year you go in. That's when the dealership can kind of meet you halfway and apply some of those rebates, because they're trying to hang on to as many things as they can with every transaction, and they just want to see how far you can push it. It's also a wrestling match. They're trying to wear you down. And there was times where I was just sitting there like, the thinking position, elbow on the desk, just waiting. I was alone and, kind of bouncing off a couple other tables, desks, but they try and wear you down. Enough of that, though, but let's talk about UFC Fight Night 105. I thought we were going to lead off with, I think Fedor should retire or he's back, like that kind of talk.
Yeah.
Now, that fight fell through.
That did not go the way we wanted it
on Saturday. And, Saturday. Now, earlier in the week, Scott Coker was aware that there was an issue with Matt Mitrione, but on Saturday is when he officially pulled the plug on that fight. Matt Mitrione had kidney stones, and you can't fight with those, that's for sure.
You can barely move with those.
Right. So they scrambled for a bit and entertained the possibilities of even Chael Sonnen stepping in. I think Tito Ortiz said he'd do it. And in the end, there was just no fight to have, and I think they're going to postpone it, which – that being the hand that's dealt, I'm okay with that. I waited this long. I mean, not that I've been waiting that long for the Mitrione-Fedor matchup, but what I'm saying is for, Fedor versus a North American or just someone from, these big leagues that has a ranking to them. So I'll wait. They're saying maybe May or June. And the show went on. I was still entertained by Bellator. I was telling Goze, I don't know what it is about Bellator. I don't know if it's because they're an underdog league. Everybody's an underdog league compared to the UFC. So maybe you're just cheering for them to have a good show, get ratings, so they can stay in the game. Does anybody really want them to go away? Do you want them to go away?
No.
There is one thing about when Pride went away, they all came to the UFC. And we had great cards. So I get that. That's a plus. But at the same time, I think, at one point I think Pride was more respected and more liked than the UFC. And they pushed the UFC to become better, and the UFC responded and therefore was able to eventually crush Pride. Pride also did some stuff to themselves, losing the TV contract that helped that to happen. But I believe that competition's good. I think Strikeforce pushed the UFC, and then the UFC took them. And so the competition's good. Anyway, I don't want them to go away. I want them to get their rating, and sign new stars, because you've seen the UFC. They're butting heads, I guess, a little maybe, or negotiations are tough. A lot of people thought once the books were open, maybe it'd go a lot easier, but they're holding their ground. I heard Kyoji Horiguchi may have signed elsewhere.
Ryzen.
That's a top flyweight.
He has one loss in the UFC.
I know, and he's in a part of the world that I think the UFC could build around. Bader looks like he may wind up at Bellator. Al Capone, Nikita Krylov. He recently, negotiations didn't go well there either, and I think he was released. Serknikov and Dana White butted heads. So these guys have to wind up elsewhere. Bellator's kind of that primary target for many of them.
Well, we've been saying for a long time the UFC needs to trim that roster. But we didn't know it was going to come at the expense of those type of guys.
Right.
What we meant were perhaps some of these guys with those guys maybe trim that part, but not quality fighters like this.
They're willing to take a hit right now and show the roster that it's not going to be just open checkbook season unless you move a needle, unless you sell a pay-per-view. There's got to be something exceptional to you, or you wear a belt. If you are the most quiet and boring individual on earth but wear a belt, they're going to pay you. They'll pay others better if you talk more and if you perform better, but you will get paid. That's when you become eligible for different types of bonuses. But to get there, it can be a long road. Anyway, but I enjoyed Bellator even with them getting rid of or postponing that fight with Mitrione and Fedor. Pitbull flattening Thompson like that, I did not think that could happen. It seems like Pitbull can beat like 70 or 80% of a roster, but then you get to the top 15 guys, top 10 guys, and he just comes up short. So I thought Thompson qualified, and Pitbull got him.
Well, to start, though, they did have a pretty bad clash of heads. Really
messed
with I think that whole season. It's a shame to see.
Koscheck lost as well. Great heavyweight fight. It had everything I wanted. It had back and forth, drama, good post-fight interview, and the only thing I didn't like was the referee stopped it too late. However, I'm not leading the charge to lynch Mario Yamasaki like others. It was late, but I watched it about 20 times. I kept rewind it,
late, I think.
and I was slow. Yes, and Goze said it first. And after you went to bed, I was watching press conferences on Fox, on MMAjunkie, seeing what everyone had to say, and I was rewinding frame by frame. He was one punch too late. Yeah. And at the speed of this game, it's just going to happen. He's a human being, There are other, I guess, referees in football that maybe don't blow a whistle before a quarterback gets crushed, because sometimes when you're in the grasp, they can call it right then and there. He's I think a veteran official enough, and more than anything, I guess where I had a problem with it was he was slow in the interruption. I'd like to see him get in there quicker. Like his reaction to the move be a little quicker. Where I think I can meet some people halfway is the 3 punches that landed follow-up goes. He hit one, and as he's cocking back to hit the second one. Now, this is once we're talking about the clear-cut punches. As he's going back to hit the second one, Brown has a reaction where he's lifting his head and also hammer fisting back up. Yeah, he's fucked up. Yeah, he's seeing stars. But to me, there's a defensive reaction there that I think was fed to the referee, and therefore the second one comes in. Now, after that, I would have liked to have seen Mario Yamasaki make the move to stop it. All right? He may not have caught Lewis in time before he delivered the third one, but I'd like to see his reaction to be, oh, shit, this guy's done at that point. Instead, it seemed like it came after the completion of the third punch, and that part I don't agree with. So I think it's one punch late, but I'd like to see an improvement on his reaction to the second punch rather than waiting for the third one to complete himself, because by then he was definitely out. He didn't need the third one to tell him that. I'm also on the guy that sides finish it later or stop it later than earlier. Others will say live the fight another day, but man, I still fall back to something we've talked about many times. The minute they signed that contract and decided to be a fighter, they knew they were in a dangerous sport. and stuff like this is going to happen. And I still believe that it's a safe sport. I think long term we need to find out more about, and we are finding out more about concussions and this, that, whatever. But as bad as some guys may wind up, and I pray that they don't, many of them are also going to exit the sport in good health too. Just basically wear and tear from what a professional sport can do to you. So I do tend to say let them go a little bit long, because every fight means so much, man. And if you can give that fighter a chance all the way till the end, then you have to do it. You can't just, jump in after that first punch. So I think he was one punch late. I'd like to know how Junkie Nation reacts to that. You agree with one punch late?
Well, yeah. I think it was exactly one punch late. However, one punch from a heavyweight can be really, really bad.
Oh yeah, it's gonna take some mileage off Brown. Make no mistake. That's what the consequence of the mistake will be. Is it's gonna hurt Brown, because that's gonna be an even tougher knockout to recover from. Mm-hmm. So even though it's only one punch late, it's still a mistake.
I understand what Yamasaki was probably trying to do, but I think it's just one of those weird situations where you're a ref and you're going to get criticism, so you probably just have to take this one on the chin. But I don't think it's as bad as everybody made it sound the moment of.
Right, because Dana White compared it to Steve Mazzagatti. And I think Steve Mazzagatti has had more consistently bad plays as a referee. I think Yamasaki's had some good ones, but Yamasaki is the one guy that I tend to let things go a little bit further. We've gotten to know him once in studio, and I think this guy's just he's kind of a hard individual. I mean, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's got hundreds and hundreds of street fight stories. He's got bouncer stories. So I just think he's been around a fight, and he knows that people are going to get hurt. Yeah, duh. What do you think you're watching, Mm-hmm. And so I think he tends to let things go a little bit further. But what I would have liked to see is his reaction off the second punch, saying, oh, and then trying to jump in there and beat him. Because even if he can bump him off and that punch misses the face but hits the mat, you can just tell some sort of a deflection, then I think maybe he could have got there in time. If he didn't and he still landed, then I'm at least happy that his reaction tried to intercede that collision from happening. And that didn't happen. He actually waited for the third one and said, now he's done. And that's one punch more than what everybody was good with.
Man. We're talking
Two
about
punches
seconds.
For others. Yeah, exactly. All right, 866-522-2846. The lines are full. Let's get to them. Co-main event, Johnny Hendricks. Shout out to him. He really looked good, happy, content. If you saw him in the post-fight press conference, I mean, the old Johnny was back. Did you see it? He was playful,
I saw it.
Joking.
But I thought it was a closer fight than, I didn't think it was 30-27. That's for sure.
I didn't think that either.
Did you feel like for sure they're going to raise Johnny's hand? Because I didn't feel that way at the end of the fight. I thought Johnny looked great. I wish he maybe would have tried to wrestle a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But I thought he looked good. But you got to remember,
I think he looked good. I don't know if I'd say
great.
Well. Maybe the beginnings of great.
That knee was pretty awesome. That he kept throwing. He doesn't really do that too much.
But he looked
more
fresh
kicks now.
And I like that he wasn't plotting. He was bouncing. Mm-hmm. I did like that.
He's lucky it wasn't a 5-round fight, because it looked like his hand got jacked up right there in the last 10 seconds of that third round.
Yeah.
But I thought he looked good.
Yeah.
In between good and great.
And so, when I cover this guy, a lot of it also tends to be from the friend angle. So that's why I keep saying he looks content, he looks happy, because he's got 4 kids. He's been through so much. It must suck to be reminded, you're the guy that can't make weight. You're the guy that, your kidneys shut down. You're the guy that nobody wants to bet on because of this or that, or you haven't knocked anyone out since 2011. There's a lot of bad stuff you got to put up with until you get your hand raised, and when you reach those heights, that's probably tough to swallow. Now, going forward, I'm going to stick to one thing I said. I still think it's going to be tough to get to a world title just because there's a lot of killers to get through, and some of those guys are bigger. Lombard is more of an undersized middleweight, but it's still a quality win for him.
Is Hector Lombard at the point where now we can let the whole gassing thing go? Because I thought he kept a pretty good pace for 3 rounds.
Yes.
And
except mentally, I think he could have pulled the trigger more.
Maybe.
Yeah. And even his corner was telling him that. Because he was getting so close to Hendricks. Well, you know what? Hendricks didn't have the best defense either at times in that last fight. So Lombard wasn't really kicking much towards the end. There wasn't many elbows or knees coming. It looked like if he was going to do something, it was going to be with his fists. Mm-hmm. When they're in striking distance, I mean, it can't be the perfect setup either. Not when the clock's winding down. Not when you know there's a good chance this could be 1-1 going into the third. You got to go out there and leave it all out there and test the other guy.
I thought both
Hendricks
guys
said
did a
it.
good job.
Hendricks said that dude can hurt. You know, that dude can bang. I had to be careful. So even there was an acknowledgement from that side. All right, now let's try the phones. We'll start off with Jersey Mike. What's up, Mike?
Not too much. What's going on, guys?
Not much, man.
All right. Goze, come on. I thought Hendricks definitely won rounds 2 and 3, and the first round was so close that you can't blame the judge for calling that 30-27.
I just thought it was closer than that, man. You know, it's tough because we're good friends with Johnny, so I couldn't tell if I was homering. Sometimes what happens is when there's somebody that's fighting that I'm friendly with, I tend to be a little harder on them because I'm thinking that I'm probably I don't want to get wrapped up in, yeah, he won that round because he's my friend, that sort of thing. So maybe I need to go back and watch it. But I thought the fight was a little closer.
I can co-sign on that. I thought Mario Yamasaki's job wasn't even the worst part of the night. Brad Jardine, I thought he called an early stoppage in the Santos Marshman fight.
That's right.
And then a couple fights
I thought
later,
so too.
And then a couple fights later, he was doing the Felder and Ricci, and I thought he let Ricci take a few more hits than he needed to take. So I'll throw a stun gun his way.
That one, that was spot on. I didn't see the elbow. The knee on the way down definitely didn't feel good. And then as he was basically sliding down, there was just kind of that type of follow-up that you would expect from someone that's out there trying to finish. So I was okay with it. I think Yamasaki's was late. I think the one in the Marshman fight was slightly early.
It was early.
I think Ricci's was okay, but I felt for Ricci, so I would have preferred it to stop sooner, but I don't think I can fault the ref.
The Marshman one was early. It was weird because it was one of those where I felt like he went in way too early.
Uh-huh.
But had he not, it was probably going to go the same route anyway.
It wasn't looking
good.
good.
Who are we to say that, right?
Right.
I mean, he had his hands up. It looked like he was getting ready to defend. All it takes is just one movement or something, grab it onto a leg, and now you have life for the rest of the round. Who knows? But it's not his decision to call like that. I felt like he made a mistake.
Right. Now, at the same time, I thought it was within, it says early and late on my left hand and right hand that I'm holding up about a foot apart. So in between is like a nice sweet spot that I'm happy with. But if they go a little bit to the left of early and a little bit to the left of right, I think it's okay because, again, we're talking about humans,
Mm-hmm.
and the speed that these guys are striking at, it's going to be tough to stop them.
What helped him was Marshman didn't jump up and say, "What the hell are you doing?" or anything like that. I think when a fighter does that, then it kind of compounds, but he was kind of okay with it. So maybe it was the right call.
Yeah.
That's all I got. I'm sure you guys will talk about it later on the show, but I'm kind of wondering what's next for Travis Brown. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Okay, see you, buddy. Well, what is next for Travis Brown? Let's start with the winners and then maybe work our way back. I posted this on Facebook, and I didn't want to write a paragraph, so I said, I'll just talk about it more on the show. Lewis seems to want to take some time off, whereas Ngannou looks like he's ready to go. So I would grab Ngannou and say, you get the winner of Hunt and Overeem, which is 3 weeks away. Because if Lewis wants 3 months off, that means we'll be 2 months past the winner of Overeem and Hunt without wondering what's next for them. So I would almost partner him up with Verdum and Rothwell, which is about a month later, and say, well, maybe you should mess with those guys and let Ngannou get the winner of the earlier matchup. Others will say, but doesn't the winner of Rothwell and Verdum stand a good chance to get the title? Yeah. It kind of does and doesn't. It all depends what the UFC's feeling towards Verdum, who the UFC wasn't too happy with, his late negotiation tactics late last year. But fights are pretty exciting. As a champ, he's done the right thing, which is to beat a couple and then go in there and fight rather than just get an instant rematch. And we don't know where Kane sits. Now, if they are ready to go with Kane, who, by the way, has an affiliation with MMAjunkie, and I don't know what Dana feels about that, what kind of harsh feelings there are. Doesn't appear to be many. I mean, GSP just got signed. Dillashaw just got the tough gig, right? Although they did go to Cruz first. And the other one was who was the other one that was button heads a little? A Cowboy. It looked like he squashed it. So maybe he doesn't even think about it. And maybe Kane slips in next, and Rothwell and Verdum isn't next for the title. Therefore, you could give Lewis the winner of that fight. If the winner of that fight does get a world title, then maybe you give him Cain Velasquez. I don't know. There's just those types of options. It just seems like the timeline's working for an earlier Ngannou booking than a Lewis booking.
It's so tough to see that name, Cain Velasquez, and trust it to make it to a fight now. That's difficult.
Brandon in Louisville. What's up, Brandon?
Happy President's Day to the greatest president in the world. A man that, yes, he's controversial. Yes, some people really love him. Some people really hate him. But he's always good for a good soundbite. UFC President Dana White.
Nice.
Can I get a Sun Gun in?
Yes.
Go for it.
I want a Sun Gun small business restaurant.
All right.
I get off work late last night. My dad's in town, so I want to take him to somewhere that he hasn't been, somewhere in Louisville, somewhere he can't get where he's at. So, I got a list in my head of places I've been to before that are real good. So I'll take him to the first one. They're closed on Sunday. Okay, that's my bad. I didn't check on that. So I'll go to the second place that I have in mind. I've been there on Sundays before. I go there. They're also closed on Sunday. So now I'm getting a little pissed. I got a third place in mind. I check on the Facebook app of theirs. They are open, it says. I get there. They are closed on Sunday. It took me three times in a row.
That does piss me off when people don't update their website and stuff like that. That one gets to me because I think that could be an easy fix.
Now, I get these small independent restaurants. They're usually family-owned. They're low staff. They got to take a day off. That's fine. Pick a day in the middle of the week where people don't eat out. Sunday's a busy day for restaurants. Why are you going to close your asses that day?
I don't know,
man. Feel you there.
And I was a little hungry, so, that didn't help matters either. The Travis Brown, the stoppage last night, I didn't really feel bad about it. I felt bad because Brown got clobbered. But he showed earlier in the fight when he walked through a couple of those hooks that Lewis threw that he had a chin, he could take them. Mm-hmm. And I think that justified Yamasaki's rationale that maybe he gets a little more leeway.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And that's just the way Yamasaki rolls is another thing. And I thought Travis did kind of cover up and be a little defensive on the first couple punches. The third one for sure was late, and but I wish Yamasaki reacted quicker to the result of the second one. And I think maybe he could have got there for the third one because there's other referees that get in there so quick, and Yamasaki just kind of barely, it's like he dropped something, like he dropped a $1 bill out of his pocket, and he just bends over to pick it up. And I don't think he can do that. I think you got to be more assertive because in that time he may have cocked back yet again and thrown another one, and you almost have to basically tackle them, man.
The worst part about it is that was an amazing fight, and it's a fight we could have got on pay-per-view. So I don't know if I'm upset that I paid for the pay-per-view and didn't get that fight, or I'm happy that I got this fight for free. What do you guys think?
I would side with free. Yeah, happy that you got it for free, and just like I mentioned about a week ago, anybody that didn't pay for 208 or regretted 208, just look at it like that. With so much free content that's out there, sometimes you just got to take that lump. I don't think you can miss the card because if you're a fan, you just got to know what happened, And so you either suck it up and go to Buffalo Wild Wings or you invite a buddy over and say, 30 you, 30 me? Okay, cool. I think most people would pay $30 for even the worst pay-per-view, right?
Yeah, why not, right?
I think so. I mean, at that point, okay, 4 buddies at 15 apiece? Depends what your budget is, but I think most people are okay with 30. So there's ways around it, man. There really is. Thanks, Brandon, for the call. Let's go to Showtime in Tennessee. What's up, Showtime?
What's up, fellas?
Not much.
What up? Man, let me start off. I meant to mention this last week, man, and Goze actually brought it up and made me think about it again. I want a stun gun, both of you guys, for when y'all got on that Ronda Rousey hype about she could whoop Floyd Mayweather. I
don't think I said that.
I'll come to his defense. George was one of the ones that said no. I was one of the guys that said if she can get his hands on him, he's in trouble.
Yeah.
I'll take my stun gun.
Yeah, I was pretty clear about in a street fight I like Floyd, in an MMA fight I like Floyd, and in boxing I like Floyd. I agreed. I conceded things like if Ronda gets her hands on him and he goes for a ride, a lot of people say, it's over, good night, that's it, it's a wrap. It ain't all that. I mean, Homeboy's athletic. I think he's, even if it's just a squirmy, even if he just squirms out of it or pops up, that's still a man, dude, that's reacting to something that he don't like. So I still think there's some athleticism to still contend with. But if she can get him and have a good base on top and attack that arm, then I guess, yeah, of course I'm not liking his chances at that point. But just because she cinches onto him, I don't think that's that either. You know what I mean? It's a quick transition, and you got to get out of there. So it's all going to depend on which throw it is, what position they wind up in, and he may even fight off. Because you remember when she tried to get Holly a couple times? She tried to kind of like a hip toss, and Holly had such a strong base because she was a bigger girl than Ronda had faced before that a lot of it was just on strength. So I don't know how much time Floyd would have to train for that, or if he could slip out of something that even before I got to that. So I think Floyd all day, honestly, with that gun to my head. I feel pretty good.
I'll go with I'm dumb, huh?
I'm just playing. I just thought that was hilarious back when Goze just admitted it. So I meant to bring it up that day, but I forgot about it, man. But Hayes, what about Black Beast, man? This guy never seems to amaze me, man. The guy is funny as heck, man. When you make ESPN and they laughing about it, you basically moving that needle a little bit. And I think he may have stepped out in another realm, with this fight. As far as, look at the heavyweights, man. Most of the heavyweights are dull and boring, man. Most of those guys are dull and boring. Boring conversation, boring interview. And I think this guy's a little bit different, man. I like him.
I like him, too. I think the UFC is slowly developing Garbrandt, Khabib, Lewis, a few others, to maybe become pay-per-view stars down the road. They got to hold up their end of the bargain and continue to win. But with Garbrandt and Khabib, they're in good situations there. Lewis sometimes, man, sometimes he makes it close. I mean, Roy, I think, was a split decision. And, the cardio definitely needs to get addressed. But he's winning. Good for him.
I just don't know what we have with him. Because you're right. There's fights that he wins where you feel like it could have gone the other way very easily. It's not like the dominance that you saw, say, when Junior Dos Santos was coming up or when Cain Velasquez was coming up. You felt like, all right, wherever they hit in this fight, whether it's round 5, whether he's on his back, he's going to have some sort of way to succeed. With Derek Lewis, I still feel like I'm not sure what we have. But I know he's exciting, he's funny as hell, and he's crazy.
Thanks for the call, Showtime. One more, and then we'll go to break. Marco in Waco, Texas. What's up, Marco?
Marco from Waco, less stone and kidney stones, because they took away the fellow fight. God damn it, dude. When I find out, it's kind of sort of like, it's for the whole card Bellator for me. I watched half of it and then passed out on the couch, man. I think I missed the Congo fight. I was about to start that, and I passed out on my couch. I saw Kochek get murked. What do you want to do with Kochek, dude? What can you do with this guy?
He just can't compete. He really needs to protect his eyes. He doesn't react well to getting hit in both of them. GSP broke the orbital bone on his left eye, and right? Do I have it right? And he just doesn't react good to getting hit there. And I don't know if part of it is still whatever reconstruction there was is never going to be as good as what he originally, what we're all born with, or maybe that's just where he starts to cower. But I just start to think about that, how many fights are you going to get in where you're not going to get hit there? And it looked like Alonzo was targeting there, So he says he doesn't need the money. He lost money by fighting. He gave it a shot. He's got these problems with his neck. I mean, he's put in some time and whatever. He got to fight for a world title, which isn't winning the world title, but he did win at the National Collegiate Division I level, All-American. So he had success as a competitor. He had success in MMA. He just didn't get that world title, but he fought basically everyone. I think it's a great career, honestly.
I think did he coach?
He coached Tuck. Yeah. Remember when he won a motorboat GSP's ass? So yeah, he just needs to back away. I hear what you're saying, Marco. I was telling Goze, and this is gonna sound ridiculous to some of you, but because I cheer for Bellator to just do well, I get into some fights that they have that normally, I guess, if you honestly put them on the UFC, I'd probably it wouldn't be one of those where I'm watching. I might be trying to crack jokes on Twitter or I don't know. Because there's honestly, through 12 or 13 fights in the UFC, I don't watch every single one as intensely as I should. Like if I'm doing play-by-play, some of those you just say, hey, I'm going to go check the mail. Hey, I got to take a dump. Hey, who wants a refill or whatever. And you're okay with missing 3 minutes of a round. But with Bellator, I guess I'm into it. And a lot of it has to do, I think the ramp helps me. I'm connecting with the fighter. I'm seeing their outfits, what they're walking out with, who backed them, or what kind of creativity they had. Something about their lighting. I don't know, man. It's something different.
Starts with the stage, right?
It's something different about when they come out. They're making them bigger than what they are. So now they're saying, Koscheck and Alonzo. I don't know. They're making Alonzo seem important and feel important. And if he wins against Koscheck, I think we all buy into who the fuck's Alonzo? You start looking him up. With the UFC, I think there's so many things that we're so used to. We hear so often when they say now you're Metro PCF move of the week and hashtag this and that. It just seems so repetitive. Like they're just hitting recorded buttons here and hitting this bite, whatever. And then they all wear Reebok. You see what I'm saying? It's not until the referee just says now fight that I remember who they are and what they're there for. Before then, it's just just two guys got pushed out there to do the thing, So I really think the UFC could learn from Bellator in the old Pride days and just glorify the fighter a little bit more.
Their three-man booth worked better than UFC's as well, too.
Yeah. I agree.
Real quick, talking about broken orbitals, Mayo versus Ortega, that was a bad look with the lady Mayo, man. Man, that guy looked like horrible.
Good call, Marco. What else?
Last thing on Lewis versus Brown. I guess Brown needs to freaking start getting Ronda pregnant, man, because this guy, every time he loses, he gets finished, and he gets finished ugly. And it's not looking good for Brown no more, man. I'm going to let you guys call you guys tomorrow.
See you, buddy. All right. As far as Mayo's eye, even though she said she was okay, when she looked up, you could see that she had a field of vision. But by the time they actually presented the winner, it closed up so much more that it wouldn't have been a good thing, man. So they looked out for her long term. She needed to calm down, and they did, and Arteaga was the rightful winner there. All right, thanks, Marco and Showtime. Good stuff back to back. 866-522-2846. When we come back, we'll keep taking your calls. This whole show is wide open to get your reactions to Bellator 172, to UFC Fight Night 105, to Cage Warriors, LFA, they had cards, the NBA All-Star Game, whatever you want to chat about, let's do it. Once again, that number is 866-522-2846.
All right, come back at 10. Stand by.
Tell your boss to reschedule that meeting. Call your wife and tell her lunch is off. It's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goze.
All right. Guess we should jump back on the calls, Goze.
That little thing that you just did, that search in the email function, is useless.
Is it?
It never works. It never pulls up what you need.
I sent some stuff to Chevrolet, and they're asking, where is it?
They're tripping?
Yeah, but remember when we had chili, when we were watching the fights, and you made chili, and then right away, luckily I have the documents here anyway.
Mm-hmm.
All I have to do is take a picture and send it, but I did it, and I thought I did it fairly quick.
I think I saw you take pics.
And then I told them, there it is, and they said, cool, we'll tackle it on Monday.
Can I bring one thing up before we go back to the calls? This is me being picky, Goze, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm shitting on the UFC, because I love the UFC. But I was getting so hyped up for this Wonder Boy and Tyron Woodley fight. Okay, they showed the preview a couple times throughout the night, and I was getting fired up. I'm like, yeah, remember, that was a great fight. I can't wait to see it again. But where I think they dropped the ball, if you just re-signed GSP, I would have ordered their production department, get me a 30-second clip that says he's back, and get people fired up. Let them know, not just the hardcores, but everyone on the planet, that GSP, one of the greatest fighters of all time, is back.
That's not a bad idea.
I would have done that. Whatever it takes. If they told us, but Goze, that takes a day or whatever, then you're working all night. But have it ready for the next broadcast.
And because they didn't do it, do you think anything?
Nah, but I just think they dropped the ball.
But you're not thinking maybe they just, once again, don't like to make the fighters bigger than they are unless the fighters are delivering and making the money?
But remember what I told you when I was at UFC 199 and Brock Lesnar came up on that big screen?
Right.
Everyone went bananas. They would have done something like that. I guarantee you some people at home would have said, holy shit, he's back. Of what? Some of them are going to say, oh, great, they got the contract worked out. Oh, okay, the Reebok thing got worked out. Some people are just going to go, I've been wondering where that dude's been. There's even going to be some fans that have never seen that guy fight that are going to go, I've heard of that guy. But it just creates talk.
Yeah, I agree. Here's a few more winners, and then we'll go back to the phones. Also winning on Saturday was Gavin Tucker, who debuted. He's from Halifax, so the crowd was really behind him. And he even had some moments there where he was channeling his inner MVP, Cody Garbrandt, a little cocky, but he just kind of owned Cecilia, had speed on him and technique on him. And Cecilia didn't really get going until the third round when he got an inspirational, push, from his coaches. And for the first half minute, it looked like he really was out there taking one on the chin if he had to, but trying to put something back, or also being the first to throw some strikes. He was just letting the other guy dictate it. But had he done that earlier, maybe there would have been something. I thought he kind of caught Tucker on one of the exchanges, but Tucker was asked about it. He said, no, that wasn't the case. I still think he was, Bell was wrong a little bit, but Cecilia he didn't have enough of those moments. Cesar Ferreira lost to Elias Theodorou. I thought they were going to say Ferreira won.
I thought so too.
Theodorou, I thought, was more of a brighter prospect than he is. He didn't look good at times.
You know what he is?
He's not improving the striking a little bit more than I'd like him to, and there's just these kicks that he throws where he looks like one of the Rockettes. He's just kicking his leg up.
He does this weird defensive thing with his forearm.
Yeah, and then he looks like he's doing the backslash, like if he's got a knife,
The Michael Myers.
Some of that, the fact that it's unorthodox can be dangerous for another fighter, but there's just, I want more clean strikes, more pop on those strikes. They say he's a busy guy with other types of opportunities and entertainment. Maybe he's distracted or what, but that could have been the loss he took that made him better if he is juggling too many things. But he got the win, so he's just going to keep doing his thing. But he better keep improving because he's just going to get tougher guys that are going to hurt him pretty bad, I think. Sarah McMahon finished Gina Mazzani pretty quickly, and that was, I mean, great performance out of her. It looks like she's kind of starting to turn a corner. Lots of promise. Came up short in big fights, but now she's winning, and she's a lot more confident than she used to be in the past. And then Felder and Alessandro Ricci. Tough loss. You know, Ricci's been on our show like 3 times in studio, and he, I rooted for him. You know, and you know how much I like Felder.
Yeah,
I've never met Felder. I've never met Felder or spoken to him, but I'm a fan of his style because he's aggressive. And when they said it was Ricci, I was like, oh, that sucks. But just goes to show you how much I like Ricci and Angelo. I was hoping that, you know, they'd come out with the W here.
What's weird is I'm not so sure that he could have gotten off the stool for the next round because you could tell his leg was bothering him, his elbow.
Yeah, for sure. Those guys went at it, man. But he threw an elbow right up the middle and then a knee, and Ricci was done. Tough loss. Couple other wins. Ponzinibbio defeated Talib. Marcos defeated Esparza. I thought Esparza should have got that win. I was discussing this with Gabe from LA, and he thinks they were robberies. He's talking about Ferreira and Esparza should have won. I agreed with him. I would have called it for him. If I was a judge, I would have turned in a scorecard that said Ferreira and Esparza, except I wasn't. And there was a few people ringside, not just the judges, but media that also called it for the other one. So I don't think it was a robbery, you know. So Gabe doesn't like it Gabe says we haven't been reporting his parlays, so I have one to report. He was minus 100.
Oh, Gabe Killian?
On Saturday, yeah. Reginald Vieira versus Ayman Zahabi. Zahabi looked pretty good, pretty polished.
Good.
Vieira was tough, but Zahabi got the win. Santos defeated Marshman, and Mearshart defeated Ryan James. All right, so what we did was we went through a run of calls. We backed things up. So we're just going to get this other commercial out of the way right now. And then we'll come back to the phone lines, 866-522-2846. 3 lines are open. We'll get to you first when we come back. It's MMA Junkie Radio on a Monday.
Hey, idiot! Yeah, you. Can you please tap that rather large fellow on the shoulder and tell him it's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goze? Thank you.
One fight that got booked over the weekend was Luis Enrique versus Marcin Tybura. Remember that was going to happen a couple weeks ago. It didn't go down. They got rebooked for UFC 209, so that's cool. All right, back to the phones. They've been waiting, so let's be courteous. If we don't get you here in this first hour, which we have like 5 minutes left, we'll start off with you in the second hour. The whole show's wide open for phone calls and reactions to Bellator 172, and UFC Fight Night 105, LFA, NBA All-Star Game, whatever you like. What was the other thing? LFA and Cage Warriors. Yeah, Cage Warriors as well. All right, Muhammad in the UK. What's up, Muhammad?
Yeah, what's going on?
Not much, and you?
Nothing much. I think that Derek Lewis has just become one of the most marketable guys in the UFC heavyweight division. He's funny, he can fight, he backs his talk as well. And that post-fight interview he did where he says that thing about Ronda Rousey, I think you need to put a lot of money behind him, and he'll be an amazing prospect and possibly a champion in next year.
Yeah, I think everything you just said, and on top of that, I think he's a beast on social media.
Somebody made the comment. They said somebody needs to get him a coach for, interviews or something, because a couple people felt like maybe he crossed the line a little bit with some of the stuff he said. I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, who's he going to piss off? There's no sponsors, right? I mean, there's really nobody left to hurt but yourself.
You can hurt the UFC, though. Like, you can't just say fag, for example.
Yeah.
Because they will lay the hammer down. That's Forrest, I think, got in trouble for something like that. So did Miguel Torres. So you can't just say that. But you're right about trudging that line about, others. He said, where's Ronda Rousey fine ass at, right? Because I thought he said, where did Ronda Rousey find his ass at? Because he was bagging on the allegations towards Brown.
Where's Ronda Rousey find ass at?
Right, exactly. And then when I was doing these replays, I go, so what did he say? Because it all happened so fast. And he said, where's her fine ass at? Is it almost as if to say, I'm down, or you're my type of chick. So, again, I think let him be himself. But he, at the same time, someone just tell him, just remember, be careful here, be careful there, whatever.
How about one of these? Take it easy, baby.
A little bit, because you don't want him to get in that kind of trouble. But for the most part, him being himself is working in my book.
Was talking about the guy. I think that's really interesting to see. Everyone was talking about him doing what he said about Ronda. I mean, I'm looking at some forms and that all you see is Derek. That's it.
You know what else I like, Mohammed? Here's another thing I liked. When Karen and Gilbert and Dominic interviewed him, by then, I think he knows that he's getting a reaction, because when he was done with Brian, his corner was high-fiving him, and they were laughing, and they were reacting to some of the funny stuff he said. So that's contagious. Like someone who says, like, man, you're on fire, this, that, whatever. They almost feel like everything needs to be a soundbite. Then these three interview him, and he actually said some pretty intelligent stuff. And then he said, I'm going to have some wine and some cheese. You see what I'm saying? So he didn't feel like everything needed to be this and that and this and that. Like they're doing a set. And sometimes I feel like Chael or a few others or Connor maybe get carried away with, like, it's all going to be funny. Wee! It doesn't. Hang back a little bit.
Yeah,
throw some change-ups, throw some fastballs, you know what I mean? So I thought he handled himself good there. You got about 1 minute. What else you got?
Do you think GSP can be a bigger draw than Conor McGregor?
No.
I think so, because I was talking to some Canadians, and as soon as he started with this return thing, everyone's talking about him now. Well, not everyone, but a lot more people are talking about him now in Canada than any other fighter.
He's not going to have a better run than he had before his. He's not going to have a better run than he had before this retirement. And he only reached 1 million pay-per-view sales when he fought Nick Diaz. It took the other party for him to cross from 750 to 800,000, to get into that million. Conor has eclipsed that. People are paying $1,500, a ticket for him, and pay-per-views are continuously going over 1 million. Two of them have gone over 1.5 million. So I just think no. That doesn't mean he sucks and he's not popular. Just my answer is no. Mohammed, thanks for the call, man. Great stuff. Always great to hear from you. We got to wrap up this first hour. When we come back, we'll start off with Brian in Boston and Aaron from Minnesota, two veterans that I enjoy talking to. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93. Stay close.
The daytime, if you see it once, you'll never be the same again.
Y'all ready to do this? Yo, what's up, guys? What's up, man? Boys are in effect, yeah. And it's about time. Yo, let's rip this up. Boys are in. Boys are in. Boys are in.
I remember this album because George gave me this album along with Guns N' Roses' Use Your Illusion, and he was nice enough to give me both of them, the red and the blue one. And what was the fourth one? This was for Christmas. And then he also gave me the Michael Jackson Black or White. Those four all came together.
CDs?
Yeah. Good job, George.
Okay, let's go to Brian in Boston. He's up next. He's going to start things off here for the second hour. Any reaction towards Esparza and Miranda Marcos? She had a little anti-bullying speech afterwards. Boy, talking about holding on to feelings. That's like 2-3 years, right? Removed from that season.
Yeah, she was pissed though.
You know, I do you remember exactly what it was? I mean, it was Felice and Esparza, I guess, kind of butted heads with a couple girls. One of them was Rhonda. Was it bullying?
I mean, on the show, yeah, I could tell. I could tell where she's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
But and then not so much that too. A lot of it was afterwards, right, with Karen Bryan and all that. They went back and forth there a lot too. I think it was Felice.
Was it maybe social media afterwards?
I think it's mostly the show.
Okay.
But Felice had tweeted something like, I get it, magic of editing. You know, she was saying a lot of people felt like she was kind of a jerk on the show. And so I don't know. I mean, you can only go off of what we saw.
Right. And
yeah.
I know that that's a show that gets edited a lot. We hear different
does,
versions
yeah.
afterwards.
But, I mean, if you act a certain way, you act a certain way, right?
Right.
It catches you. So I would have liked to have seen them shake hands at least at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't seem like they did that. I mean, I think they did really quickly, but they just kind of turned their backs on each other. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. What did you think of Ferreira and Esparza? Could they each have done more to get that call? Because most media did score it for Cesar Ferreira and Esparza. It wasn't a complete 100% across the board.
Mm-hmm.
I think out of like 15 media, 4 went. I think it was 4 went for Marcos, and about 9 or 10 for Esparza. Maybe even closer to like 10 or 12 for Esparza. And with Theodoro, I thought it was a little bit more like he got 6 or 7, and then the other guy got about 10. So it was still more media leaning one way, but agreeing with me and Gabe from LA, for example. But I still don't think it was a robbery. You know?
I don't think so either. I told you at the end of the fight, I said, I think they may have this from Marcos.
In fact, Goze, I'll put it to you like this. Theodoro was in my parlay, and when the fight was over, I'm like, God damn, I'm fucked.
Your goose was cooked.
You remember that feeling I talk about?
Yeah.
And then they announce it I get this dumb smile like, you know, when they say Theodora, because I feel like I got away with one. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, I'll take it. I'm not feeling guilty because I've had my fair share of the other ones where I get screwed. And this one, I'll just take it. But I had that little schoolgirl giggle like, whoa, I thought they were going to call it for Ferreira.
I would say, could Carla have done a little bit more? Maybe, yeah. But I think the one thing you can hang your hat on is, I think we can all agree that it took the best Ronda Marcos to beat.
When she opened up, she nailed Ronda a couple times, but there was so much hesitancy in between because Ronda had takedown defense. I mean, she keep being a broken record, but you just have to have a little bit more activity, in my opinion.
At the same time, though, Carla can probably thank her lucky stars that a point wasn't taken away on that knee, right?
Oh, yeah.
Towards the end.
Right.
So.
I agree. All right, Brian in Boston, you're up. Start things off. What's up, man?
Hey, boys.
Hi.
So real quick on the Mitrione thing, I saw he was taking a lot of slack online for the kidney stones. But for what it's worth, I had a kidney stone just about this time last year, and it is brutal pain. You can barely sit and think without being in pain versus getting in the ring with arguably what might be the GOAT and taking punches. So I saw him getting his head caved in online, but people got to lighten up. That's real pain.
It's not even worth discussing, man.
Yeah,
if someone's that dumb and they don't get it, they just don't get it.
Can I bring something up though that you brought up, Brian? Can we all come together and just come up with something different? There's too many goats running around. I don't know if you've noticed, George, but MMA's been a fucking farm lately. Everybody's a fucking goat.
Yeah, you're right.
Can we just say he was one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, or this guy was one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time, and just reserve the GOAT for one person?
That's the problem. I don't think
Tom
you
Brady.
can. Some people felt like it was Anderson, and then when GSP got re-signed, some people felt like it was him. And then Fedor fighting, I think Bellator's going to make their marketing push to it. I don't know if did anybody use it towards
Dan
BJ
Henderson
Penn?
was the GOAT at one time.
Was he really?
Yeah, because people were saying, well, okay, he's beaten heavyweights, he's beaten light heavyweights, he's beaten middleweights, he's been successful everywhere. Enough with the GOATs.
Who should be in GOAT talk?
GOAT talk should be GSP and
Jones.
Yeah,
and Anderson.
Jones is definitely.
But what about Anderson's last couple losses?
Like even I've heard Ronda's name get thrown up when they say GOATs. I've heard Demetrius Johnson's name. Isn't Demetrius Johnson just the greatest
active?
Yeah, active flyweight.
Yeah. No, I think he's the best pound-for-pound fighter right now.
Okay.
All divisions.
But the GOAT?
No, he's not the GOAT.
Okay, then. There's too many GOATs getting fed left and right.
Who are the GOATs? I think it's GSP and Jones for me.
For me, it's GSP.
Okay, yeah. I think GSP and Jones. I think Silva just, when you hang around, and I'm not saying his legacy's tarnished. That I disagree with. But I will say that when you are coming back and you're fighting, and collecting a check and losing some of those fights, well, guess what, man? We're splitting hairs at the top. Fedor, BJ, Jones, GSP. I mean, they reach such a level of greatness that to keep eliminating them, we have to split hairs. And Fedor and those losses, and even the win versus Fabio Maldonado, Anderson, and the losses to Weidman and Bisping, those I think cost them a little bit. Penn as well. And so I think standing out above all others is Jones and I think GSP. And I think either argument's good for me, but I just think those guys, right now, Jones has never technically lost inside the octagon. He has one technical loss. He did have a couple close rounds that he lost. Maybe he was this close to losing his title to Gustafsson, but he didn't. And then he's been a muppet outside the octagon. And then GSP avenged his 2 losses. Won a trilogy versus one of the guys being Matt Hughes. And even though he didn't have the finishes that Jones had, he was pure dominance, So, and I think he beat his guys at his division at their prime, where I feel like Jones, he didn't beat Rampage at his prime, but I'll give him credit that he beat a former champion in Rampage. I don't think he beat Shogun in his prime, but I'll give him credit that he beat a former champion in Shogun. Right. I think he got to them just a little bit late. Maybe Machida.
But he destroyed them.
He did. And he did it back to back to back. And the reason he can say, well, I beat all these former champions is because his division had so much turnover. GSP can't. Miletich, lately. But for like 10, 15 years, it was like 4 dudes. So he missed the boat on Miletich. He had retired by then. He beat Hughes twice, so he won that trilogy. And then with Sarah, he didn't need to because I think Sarah either moved on or he had so many other guys. So it's 2 different types of arguments. So I think those 2 stand out for me right now.
I do too. I hijacked your call. So
yeah, sorry Brian. Sorry.
No worries, guys. It was interesting. Secondly, I'd like to touch on, I may be in the minority on this, but I can't stand Mario Yamasaki. That guy is a disgrace, and he's going to get somebody killed. If I were a fighter and I walked into the ring and I saw that guy there making his stupid little heart thing around with his fingers, I'd get out of the cage and walk out.
Well, if you're a fighter, you have the option of not having him. But you can't go, now you got Herb Dean, I don't like him either. You can't do that. You can
do it one time, and you have to do it before the fight is presented. So really it's the ones in high-profile fights. But let's just say you're someone on the undercard. I don't know what kind of leverage you have then. Thank you, Brian, for the call. I agree, man. I think he needs to get spoken to about his reaction time to that sequence. It was too casual for me. I think a 4th punch may have even been able to get through just because there's some fighters that are so in line that even if you are starting to put your body in between them, they're still finishing. So you have to almost tackle them. You know what I mean?
Do you think their pay has anything to do with it?
No.
Do you think if they got paid more, they would be more inclined to pay better attention because of the fear of losing such a good-paying job?
That's a good point. The NFL guys get paid a ton of money,
I feel like
but
the
they still
criticism
make
that
errors.
they receive versus
You know what I mean?
the compensation they get, that's got to be
Well, I
tough
know
at
there's not
night.
enough good ones in the world, so I think they could hold the commissions hostage a little and say, guess what? We're all banding together. We want to raise. But John told us that a few kind of crossed that line the one time they tried to, like, I don't know if they were forming, what they were forming, I forget. But, you know, the longer they wait, the less of them there will be. But right now there's just some really good quality refs. And then there's a tier down where there's some pretty decent refs. And then after that, there does seem to be a fall off. I don't know if that's maybe after the dozen mark or the 20 mark. But Yamasaki, I'm feeling what Brian said.
Remember in boxing, they even went through this. Remember Richard Steele was kind of made fun of for a while.
Mitch Halpern. And they're human beings, man. Remember you just mentioned the NFL? They want them to go to full-time. Those guys study so much. And they review and review and review, and then we still have to go back and go, oh, he was in bounds. He had both feet, you know. The call is reversed. We just don't have that in MMA, and we have to live with these results. Let's go to Aaron from Texas. What's up, Aaron?
Hey, guys. How you guys doing?
Good, man.
Yeah, it was a pretty interesting weekend. In our combat chat, Johnny Rico made a mention about with Todd Grisham calling it and having Joe Martinez. Didn't it kind of feel like a WEC card, last night?
It did.
You guys kind of get that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I said that to myself, but I'm kind of nodding my head here in approval. Like, yeah, I feel you. A lot of people are coming after Grisham.
I didn't think he did bad.
Me neither.
Thought he did well.
Yeah, first time.
I liked him. He kind of had the pro wrestler thing as far as speaking in sound bites, but it was different. I mean, and plus we were coming off of UFC 208 the week before, where three guys, they're all kind of like just playing footsie, thinking, okay, who's going to talk here? Who's going to talk here? Who's going to talk here? So there were 5 minutes without Anik even talking sometimes. But Grisham, hey, when he said get out of there, Travis, I was like, okay, it's something different,
I didn't like that. I didn't like when he said, Travis, get out of there. Did you like it, Goze?
It didn't bother me, but I knew that people were gonna.
Right, that's how I felt about it. Like I didn't lose sleep.
Like I get why he said it. It wasn't because that's his boy and he wants him to win.
But it could be interpreted that way.
Dramatic.
Right. Yeah. So I think there just could probably be another way for him to say that. But to say it that way, it almost sounds like, whoa, hold on a second.
Aaron said it right.
Does he know him? Is it like a Lance and Douglas Crosby thing? And you know what I mean?
I think it was a little bit of WWE in him.
Right.
At that moment.
Nothing wrong with that. Plus it's his first UFC card. So he can only get better from there. As you made a mention about, if the referees are paid more, would that improve performance? Air quotes. When you go to a show, whether you're working as a judge or referee, you really don't care how much. You want to get paid as much as possible, but whether I'm making $1 or $1,000, I'm going to try to give the same amount of effort possible. At least that's the mindset you have going into it, because at the end of the day, you're there to protect fighters. And I know GG. And one thing I actually kind of use it sometimes. I use that in a couple of my fighter meetings as a threshold. What I try to allow. Whereas where it's acceptable to where it's too long of a TKO, and it's just. At the end of the day, you want to look out for them. And if you can't give them one more fight, and maybe even if you stop it a little early, it's so bang. I'll never criticize an official because it's an impossible job. It's a thankless job. Big John McCarthy makes it look easy. He's been doing it forever, but it's thankless. Because especially when you're doing a main event like that, spotlight's on you. You want to do your best. Nobody wants to go in there and crap the bed.
Right.
I'll give you this, Aaron. I think the reason you're like that is because you're hungry. You're new. You want to prove yourself. I think some officials can get to the point where they're just complacent because they've been there but done that. This is like their, 5,000th fight that they've reffed. I think sometimes they can phone it in. However, I don't think they would if there were a lot of money on the line.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's tough to phone it in once you may have like a hangover or you may be thinking about drama at home. But I think once you're in there, and they start the fight, I think your attention level does rise, and whatever you do have, you can put on hold for those 15 minutes. It all depends if you've had a bad night. I think with a call, like, oh, I stopped it too late in the first prelim at 4 p.m. and now it's 8 p.m. and now I'm back in there. Like maybe that there might be some carryover, but other than that, I think for the most part, they do try their best to block everything and just do their best job.
Hey boys, I got a stun gun story. If you guys don't mind, before I go off the air, is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. I have stun gun flow wrestling. This weekend was I know you guys don't follow collegiate wrestling all that much, but it was NWCA National Duels, and it was it's the biggest weekend before the National Championship.
Was it Penn State and Ohio State or something like that, or Oklahoma State?
Oklahoma State and Penn State is what it was.
Yeah.
It was number 1 versus number 2, and it's the biggest duel of the year, and everybody's looking to see it. And, we're paying their money on Flow to watch it, and Flow wrestling goes down and stays down for the entire duel. So, and I've had issues, and I worked with Flow this weekend at a little regional tournament, regional tournament here in Texas for high school wrestling. So they're good people. I like them. I mean, Dan Tom works with Flow now, and so does Jeremy Botter. I love Flow. I'm always supporting them, but I mean, that's biggest weekend of the year in wrestling on Flow, and it goes down. I mean, it's just, you can't have that, man. You just can't have that.
All right, you got your stun gun.
And stun gun, and stun gun is fool who thinks a kidney stone sucks. I had one on Wednesday, and I thought I was going to die. So anybody who thinks Nightmare Stone's a pussy for a kidney stone, they need to check themselves.
All right, later, brother. So a couple things. I just remembered when he said Flow Combat, Dwayne Finley was telling me he was going to be in town this weekend. I told him let's catch up because he's doing his road trip.
Mm-hmm.
But I usually try and leave it on everybody's plate, like, you just let me know when you're in town. So I have to, see where he's at. That's one thing. 2, Jeremy Body's no longer there, but he's public about that, so that's no surprise. He parted ways with Flo in December or something like that. And it sucks because he was really, really passionate about it. And I thought he did a great job. And 3, I had this idea. Can someone on the combat chat put some controversial fights that you would like discussed as far as stoppage? But the caveat is they have to be available on YouTube. Because if they're available on YouTube, I wouldn't mind spending 30 minutes just watching. In fact, during the commercial, I'm going to see if you can hunt down the Fox Sports highlight. We can't show that?
Not today. I'll tell you why later.
No Skype? I'm sorry, no YouTube?
Yeah, it's not connected today.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, maybe sometime this week. I'd love to do it so we can kind of talk and show. You know what I mean? All right, who's next? Zombie Paul in Virginia Beach. What's up, Paul?
Hey, guys. That Yamazaki stoppage was terrible. Could you imagine if Conor McGregor got a few extra blows after he was KO'd?
Yeah, well, the higher the profile, you're right, the more ripple effect there would have been. I thought it was one punch late, personally.
That's what I'm saying. If it was Ronda Rousey or Conor McGregor getting those blows afterward, it would definitely be a bigger news story. But because it's somebody that nobody really loves, it's no big deal. It's like when Henderson hits Lombard after the bell, nobody cares, or not after the bell, but after he's truly KO'd, nobody cares.
Yeah, we don't disagree.
I thought Joe Martinez did great. I always love hearing him.
He's solid.
Yeah, I prefer him over Buffer myself. That's my personal taste. I thought Grisham was okay, not bad at all, and better than Goldberg on his first night out.
Well, I'll grant you that. Grisham's first night was probably better than Goldberg's first night 20 years ago. But I think Goldberg, even though he took a lot of flack, I thought he did a great job with most pay-per-views. So I thought sometimes when he became part of it, became an analyst, he hadn't progressed as much as maybe I think he would have. Somebody would have in 20 years, and even Joe would have to check him and say some things. But I still thought there's a connectivity between the voice and the event, that he built in there for so many years that I think part of that had value.
You got to have energy when you're with Brian Stan, because Brian Stan's a little bit more laid back.
Right.
He's just going to be very technical.
Right.
So you have to give the broadcast some energy, and I thought that's
like John Anik, I think's risen his energy levels for sure over the years. But first show, I didn't think he did bad. Joe Martinez versus Bruce Buffer. What I just finished saying about Goldberg, I think applies to Bruce is just the show at this point. You know, he is kind of who you want. If he's healthy and he's ready to go, you kind of want him calling it. You're so used to it. He's part of the UFC. But I've always had an appreciation for Martinez's voice. I think he's as smooth as they get.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Bruce Buffer, but at least he tried. You know, unlike Goldberg, it seems like. And shout out to Aaron from Texas. Did he actually make it through a call without mentioning his girlfriend?
Yeah,
he did.
You know what? I was counting down the seconds, and at the end when he goes, and I want a stun, I thought that's where it was going to come. Like, I want a stun gun Valentine's Day for not having enough cards for me to give my girlfriend.
Right.
But he didn't do it. Good job, Aaron.
I thought Yamasaki was showing the heart signal to Aaron's girlfriend while Brown was getting KO'd with extra punches. I didn't know what was going on over there.
Yeah. That's funny. Good stuff, Zombie Paul. Oh, man. Aaron from Texas. He's a character, isn't he?
So
he's got some of the thickest skin out there, though.
The heart like that, you would look out in the crowd, and Aaron would just be giving him a finger, like, yeah, that's my boy right
there. And Aaron would be telling everyone, hey, before this fight starts, let's see who can catch the little message that I'm sending to Veronica. A buddy of mine is stepping up on my behalf. 866-522-2846. Who do you want to see next for Lewis?
Well, it depends how long this break is going to be, because he said, 2 or 3 months, but he said no MMA at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Does that mean no training or anything? Like, is he just taking himself out of the game for a while?
I don't know. It might mean that.
Well, it's got to be a step up, right? And if you're going to take a step up from Travis Brown, now you're in that tier.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're in the next tier where there's contenders. So, you don't want to give him a loser of one of those matchups.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to avoid a guy like Cain Velasquez. So I would say he's probably going to be stuck in that same tier then that he was just in.
Just give me a name.
Like a Stefan Struve or someone like that.
Okay,
He's going to be stuck in that area.
Right. I think Travis Brown was Stefan Struve.
I mean, maybe like
he's 2-4 in his last 6. So I think now he's graduated, and that's why I was going towards the winner of Rothwell or Verdum or Cain. I think it's time now.
If you want to make people go, ooh, I would say the name Mark Hunt would sound very attractive.
And he's into it.
Because you see those two guys and you go, holy shit, they're going to throw. It's gonna be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would try and make.
I wouldn't hate that one.
He still needs to get better, is my point. Like, I don't think he's ready for that next tier.
Right.
He can knock any of those guys out, but I think even he'll admit to you that, like, he's still got to work on some cardio stuff. Still got a little bit more work. Those were some kind of crazy kicks he was throwing, and I was
that jumping switch kick.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that he did it.
Man, that's
but
incredible.
You could tell that it's probably not going to be too effective.
Brian Edward Jerry in the Facebook chat says John Fitch, Ben Askren to me are unwatchable.
John Fitch, Ben Askren.
So I guess they must be talking about wrestling or something. I don't know.
Well, we're probably going back to the GSP talk.
Oh,
right?
I see. Okay. Gavin McCarran says, I understand the critic, but Askren wants to dominate by grinding guys out. Yeah, I like that he embraces it and says, that's kind of what I'm going to do to you, and watch me do it. And that's kind of what Khabib is saying as well. Khabib's not trying to convince anyone, guess what, I'm ready for K1. So I think if that's your style, then I think you just have to rock it. I think Damian Maia, same thing, you know. He doesn't try and fool anyone, and he just goes in there.
But he is trying to finish.
He's trying to finish, right. I guess I'm a little behind on some of these comments. Juan Ramirez says Bellator should get a stun gun for placing a woman to debut on the main card. Mayo was a debut? Okay. Yeah, possibly, Juan. Who knows what they decided there at the last minute.
What we were talking about
women's
Bellator
MMA is very popular, by the way, so it could be that made a difference.
Over the weekend. And what they need to get away from is Pitbull Strauss. A fourth time, like, you got to get away from this type of stuff. And I heard the name Goldberg being thrown around, right? Maybe he signs with Bellator. They don't need him. I love Goldberg, but they don't need him. They have a team. Use that money and pick up quality guys. Michael Chandler needs opponents right now. Sign Justin Gaethje. That's a perfect name. You put those two names together, you go, whoa, holy shit. They can fight 3 times.
Right.
You need to pick up names like that.
Right. Okay. It's got to be him. There's no like, why did he get it? You know, how did he back into it? The person deserved it, but you ran the risk because it was 3 fights in 60 days. So sometimes they didn't pull it off. Guys didn't show up healthy to the finals. You also limited yourself with no elbows in the early 2 rounds. So there's a couple drawbacks. I would do it if they were introducing a weight class. Like if they said, ta-da, we're doing straw weights, and we've picked the best 8 in the world, and here we go. I'm in. But as far as what they originally started with, I think they've graduated from that. I'll keep looking at the Facebook comments and chats. If you have anything, put it there. It's facebook.com/official MMA Junkie. And that's if you're a YouTube watcher. And, of course, if you're a Facebook watcher and sometimes you want to use YouTube, you can go to youtube.com/MMA Junkie video. So many ways to catch the show. We'll be right back after this break.
Another promise, another
We gotta do our stun guns.
Scotty doesn't know that Fiona and me do it in my van every Sunday. She tells him she's in church, but she doesn't go. Still she's on her knees, and Scotty doesn't know.
They are the Wright brothers of mixed martial arts. They are Gorgeous George and Goze, and this is MMA Junkie Radio.
You want to do stun guns, Goze?
Sure.
Okay, you go first.
I would like to stun gun a random lady. I don't know who she is. But you know when you come in through the corridors over here from the stairs?
Somebody didn't hold the door open for you?
Somebody didn't hold the door open for me.
I got that the other day, too.
But that one is kind of long, right? If you see someone just coming in through those doors and you're at the next set of doors, it's enough where I think you can close the door. And the person's going to say, hey, I didn't expect you to sit there and wait for me. It's going to take a while for me to get there.
Right.
However, when you make the other turn and you're kind of where Matt's door would be and then going out towards Michael Jackson, that ain't that far. I turned the corner, some lady opened the door, was about to go through, turn around, and saw me. She saw me, she held the door, and then she almost gave me like a snicker, like, this fool ain't walking fast enough. She went, psh, and then she just let the door go. It closed right as I was like getting close. And I even did the little like pep, I'm moving a little faster because I know you're doing that.
Like when you're crossing the street and the car making a right's waiting for you?
No, she just let the door go and just left me to die.
I don't know why.
If you're going to commit to it already, then you got to stick it out. If I get a cramp or something, then you got to go, hey, you okay there, buddy?
I know.
You can't just bail on it like that.
I think I'm too much of a nice guy, too, because I open doors a lot, and then sometimes I don't get it, and it bugs the shit out of me.
That in a way.
All right, that's well-deserved. That's well-deserved. Mine would just be, I don't know how to interpret this, but I was trying to buy a car this weekend, and I realized that the transaction is them trying to get the most money from me and me trying to pay the least amount of money. I've accepted that. But I think you just have to do your homework a little bit better. I went in there on Thursday. And on Thursday they said, George, this is what we lowered the price of the car to, and this is your interest rate. Okay. I didn't feel like that deal was appropriate. So I'm just going to throw fictional numbers out there. 20,000 and 5%. And so I said, no, I can do better. So I walked out. And I'm trying to give you the short version. So then when I came back on Saturday, I had already touched base with them, and they said, hey, we've been crunching numbers. We've been able to shave off a few things. These rebates came in. They're typical bullshit. I said, all right. So I had also then began to go to CarMax and go buy a few other dealers. So I'm doing my thing too, and so are they. So I get in there, and I sit down, and I go, all right, what you got? And I test drove 2 cars. So when we sit down, we crunch numbers, and they go, ta-da, kind of like, these are the new numbers. They went the other way.
They made it worse?
Now I had 6%. The equivalent of, I guess, what would be 6%. And they said, 6%, the car was the same, and they went up. And so I told them, I looked at them like, you make no sense, So then I wrote down ridiculous numbers on my end. I wrote down 10,000 and 0%. And they go, well, that's ridiculous, And I go, well, you started it, And they go, what do you mean? I go, well, you went the other way. I go, I thought we were cracking jokes here, so I cracked the joke too. And they go, what? So my point is, don't they do their homework? Don't they have the Garcia file?
I think they just think you're dumb.
That says he walked out at this. We're calling him back in. Let's improve on that. Either that or don't call him back, but don't insult him either. Mm-hmm. When you insult me, I think I tweeted, what am I, a schmuck on wheels? Like, I really felt that way. Like, do I have stupid written all over me? But they didn't know they were in there against the grinder. I was there for about 4 hours, and I believe we made progress. But now, you know what? I'm going to try and stick it to them.
They're hoping you don't have the cardio.
Mm-hmm. I brought my computer. They had free Wi-Fi. So I was keeping an eye on some games, reading junkie stories. I had Solitaire open, Words with Friends.
Solitaire?
I was just going to hang back and just, grind them out. So I just sent them a text. You want me to read it to you?
Yeah.
Because they asked for more information. I said, hey, man, after my show, I'm headed to CarMax and the other Chevrolet. I'm just being straight with you. I got to see my options. Keep me posted. If we can make a deal, I'll turn around and head to you guys. because I do want to give them the not the final say, but the preferential treatment, because they're the place that's closest to me, and I like the salesman. It's his bosses that I don't like. And then get this, one of the guys that followed up, he said, hey, I noticed you were in, and what can I do to step in? And he made it sound like he was my guy's boss, kind of taking over. So him and I chatted. But then a third lady got involved, and she was also doing follow-up. So I sent the original salesman. I go, hey, are these guys trying to hijack your deal? Or should I be talking to 3 different people? Because I'm getting tired of saying the same thing over and over. And he wrote me back. He goes, hey, man, thanks for that heads up. He goes, that's just the sales guy that tried to swipe my deal.
Damn.
So once again, Chevrolet thought I was a punk by quoting me higher numbers. And that guy thought my salesman was a punk because he can just take his deal.
Those people were ruthless.
Who just stomps
you
on people like that?
You should have strung him along for a couple days.
I did for a little bit. Not for
just
days,
to get even.
But there was one day where I had a long drive, so we argued for a bit. And he was basically trying to be a salesman and say, sorry, man, these are the numbers. I'm like, well, sorry. I go, I don't like your numbers. But that's the best we can do. I go, then we're done. Nah, come on, we can crunch a deal. You just got to realize that these are the numbers, and that's what other people are paying. I'm like, well, that's not what I'm paying. So we were having that type of conversation. But I was I was giggling. I was driving. I had plenty of time to kill. So I was like, you ain't going to outlast me on this one. And then once I got home, because we went at it for 20 minutes. Once we went home, I got home. I think I told him, all right then, because I was walking in with a pizza, and we were watching
full too.
Manchester United. Yeah.
Usually the pizza looks like Pac-Man by the time it gets home.
866-522-2846. This is your last chance to get in. We're closing in on our the end of this second hour. We're talking Bellator 172, UFC Fight Night 105, and anything else that happened this past weekend, the NBA All-Star Game. There was a dunk contest winner and a three-point shooter, and if you want to talk that, that's great. Whatever. I've often said the NBA is one of my preferential weekends as far as All-Star goes. I'm not too much into the baseball. I am into the NBA one, and I'm not too much into the NFL, and I love pro football, but I just feel like it's so far removed from the actual game.
It might as well be a flag football game.
It might as well be, yeah.
Unless you're Sean Taylor.
Yeah. 866-522-2846. One other thing I was going to say.
Yeah, that's the guy I was telling you about, John in Seattle.
John in Seattle. All right, let's talk to him. What's up, John? How you doing?
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Good, man.
John, you're the guy that's coming out for the Junkie Gathering, right?
That's correct.
That's him.
That's correct.
Very cool.
Hey, it's Jersey Mike, right? Me and him are rooming?
Yeah.
Is that what you guys gave him? Decided to give him Jersey Mike? Okay.
That's what we were
he's
talking
always
about.
coming in here with, oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always coming in there with some good questions. I just wasn't sure if it was him or not,
Mm-hmm.
But, hey, guys, I want to talk to you guys about Sarah McMahon. She went in there, did her thing. I'm not, no disrespect, but it was kind of, she made it look really easy, Do you guys think that she's going to be like the Damian Maya? That she's too nice to call people out, but her work, speaks for itself. She is on a, 3-win streak right now, but last time she lost the champion, but she just doesn't seem to have that, hey, I want to call somebody out. Do you guys think she's going to be like Damian Maya a little bit? She's just going to sit back and be like, okay, well, people are going to come in here, start talking, getting shots, when she should be working her way up.
I think she wasn't as vocal before because she realized that she needed to get better to contend with some of the top girls, and I think she feels like she's there now. So I think she will start to get a little bit more vocal. And you saw her say that she wanted, a crack at some of those girls up at the top.
She wants the title, but
I think she can do it. She's getting better.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought she meant me instead of Valentina, and I thought it was pretty clear Valentina's ahead. But it sounds like what she meant was the winner of Valentina and Nunes, which, by the way, I'm hearing that fight keeps getting backed up. Both ladies are healthy. I don't know why they're not making it. But don't expect to see that before at least midsummer, it sounds like.
Right. What's going on with Kat Zingano, Do you guys have any news on her?
I don't.
I love watching her fight. I wouldn't mind seeing, McMahon versus Zingano or even Pena, Even,
Yeah, she can
I feel
boast
like
that
this would
she
be a
beat
good
the last
exciting
two
fight.
champs too. She beat Nunes and Tate.
Right.
So
Right.
those two, she lost to Rousey and who'd she lose
Juliana.
to? Juliana. Other than that, I think she's undefeated not only in the sport but in the UFC. So she's got quality wins, quality losses. So in other words, she didn't get upset by a tomato can. It's just she just needs to be fighting more frequently and staying healthy. But I love Kat Zingano. I think she's her fights are exciting to me.
Me too. Yeah, me too. I wish the whole Ronda Rousey fight. I feel like that Ronda Rousey fight was the same as Jose Aldo versus McGregor. That they're great, but man, I wish it would have won. A couple more rounds. As a fan, I would have loved to see what kind of back and forth they had. But I mean, it's the fight game, right? You don't really choose how you go.
Right. McMahon's on a 3-fight win streak right now. She's beaten Mazzani, Davis, and I think Davis is the higher profile out of all of them. In fact, Alexis Davis, if you look at her record, she has really good wins across her whole body of work. It's just we don't really know because, again, she's just the gal that's more stepping in the background, doesn't really trumpet herself as much.
She took a break. She had a baby.
Right. But beating her is really a really good quality win. So I think what's lacking is more of those. The Mazzani win was so easy that it didn't nothing transferred over, But it's a win. It's a paycheck. And with a couple of the gals heading up to 45, a couple entertaining retiring, one actually retiring, it'll be an easier road to fight for a world title again.
Right. Yeah, because, I mean, those girls are so exciting, Zingano, her, Pena. Like, I love watching them fight, but just they get to the top and then they just, for whatever reason, either, mental blockage or just get stopped. But
does Pennington have a fight lined up? Because maybe Pennington and McMahon, right? On the same card as on the same card as Shevchenko and
I'm not so
Nunes.
That would be good. Yeah.
I'm not so sure.
She's won 4 in a row.
Man, that'd be a good fight.
Yeah, so put them together, and then you have a quality number 1. Thanks for calling in, John from Seattle. Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Felt like I cut him off there. Did I?
Got something in my eye. It keeps twitching.
Oh.
Nah, he was probably on his way of saying, hey, man, I love the show. You guys are great.
Pennington and McMahon. Anybody else feeling that? Hit us up on Twitter and Instagram. We're at MMAjunkie George and at the Goze. And on Facebook, we're streaming live here on our front page of the official website. The official Facebook website. It's facebook.com/official MMA Junkie. I'll come back and I'll read some of these comments, catch up a little bit on that, and close up the show, give our final thoughts.
They were forged from the same ball sack, but act as though they've never met. They are the brothers Garcia, Gorgeous George and Goze.
Hey, this is pretty interesting. Aaron from Minneapolis was on hold. He had to go, but he sent me a message here. He gave me, and we'll retire this after this for a while, GOAT talk. He says, here are the greatest of all times, the GOATs, in their respective divisions. Frankly, there's no one on hold, and we have 7 minutes to fill, so let's do it. Heavyweight, Fedor, agree or disagree?
In heavyweight, the greatest of all time? I mean, he's in the talks. Is that what we're doing? Because Fabricio...
For sure he's in the talks.
His credentials... This is going to play out in the next year. I think we'll finally have one guy that we could say it's him.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. John Jones. Light
Yeah.
heavyweight, yeah. Anderson Silva, middleweight.
Yeah.
Welterweight, GSP.
Yeah.
Lightweight, BJ Penn. This one's tough. This one's so tough, and I'll tell you why. Because all I can think about is a guy named Frankie Edgar that beat him twice. All I can think about then is a guy that beat Frankie Edgar twice, and that's Ben Henderson. Then there's a guy that beat Ben Henderson twice. His name is Anthony Pettis, who then got relieved of his duties by RDA, who then got starched by Eddie Alvarez. And Eddie Alvarez could go, I won the Bellator and the UFC title. And then he got waxed by Conor McGregor. It ain't McGregor. I like Alvarez's stats, but I do like Benson's stats in the sense that out of all the guys we named, I think he had the most title defenses. And he can also say I was also the WEC guy. Had Benson beaten Chandler, he may be the GOAT because he would have been the WEC, UFC, and Bellator champ. I mean, there's something to that. At the same time, had Melendez beaten Henderson when they fought in a split decision, he could have been the Strikeforce and UFC champ, which is also that also has a lot of respect. So I guess we'd have to really go up there and just make some charts and go who had the longest reign, who had title defenses, key head-to-head matchups. That one's a tough one. But Penn's in the running. Featherweight, Aldo.
Yeah.
He got starched by a guy who never lost at featherweight.
But he hasn't had that many
13
fights.
seconds.
Still. I think it's still Aldo.
Still?
Yeah.
So his body of work surpasses getting beat head-to-head by Conor McGregor. Okay?
Think of some of the guys he took out.
I know. Bantamweight, Cruz. Cruz.
Yeah.
So Garbrandt needs, even though he's got the win over Cruz, he needs defenses now. Yeah. But he's undefeated, so nice start to a career there. Flyweight, Mighty Mouse, agreed. Women's featherweight, Cyborg, agreed.
What?
Women's featherweight, Cyborg, agreed. Women's bantamweight, Ronda.
The GOAT. Yeah, but it's
Nunes is starting to build a case, right?
She doesn't need much, I don't think.
Right, okay. Fujii at strawweight. Fuck no. No, I shouldn't say it like that. I should just go no.
I get where they're coming from, though.
Right, but I think when she did step foot on North America, she lost.
Zoila beat her, right?
Zoila beat her, yeah, and then she lost twice, I think, to Aguilar. I think I got to give it to Joanna at this point. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because if you take Prime Fujii and Joanna right now, I think
Joanna's beating better
would
competition.
be like a minus 700 or something.
Joanna's
like
beating better competition right now. Yeah, I felt for this a few times with a lot of superstars from Japan, and then they came over and it just wasn't translating.
The best guy to do it was Kawajiri.
Is in North America, or at least fighting in North America, whether you're from other countries. You're either living here in North America. There's few stars that stay in Europe or other parts of the world that come over and reach high levels. It's very rare, though. There's got to be some sort of a North American base, whether you're born here or at least camping here or have moved here. But it's where you're going to find the most competition, so I go with Joanna there. Great question / comment or whatever that was by Aaron from Texas. Appreciate you. Tomorrow, Frank Mir is going to join us in studio. He's going to be our co-host, former UFC heavyweight champion, and now he's doing some commentating all over the world. He's doing seminars, and he's also a co-host of the Phone Booth Fighting podcast. And they're going to have a swap cast along with Chael Sonnen in Las Vegas this week. We'll give you more details about that if you want to attend. Goze?
Can I stun gun someone?
Sure.
During the break, I went to use the restroom. And I go, in the very first stall was the dirtiest human being on the premises right now.
Okay.
He was taking a dump and watching a movie on his phone, and his phone was on the floor. So he was just sitting there dumping with the phone touching the floor, just watching a movie. Come on,
Yeah,
dude.
that's a bit much.
That's a lot. There's so many things that are wrong with that.
Ugh. Yeah, I feel you. That's
I don't
horrific.
care what kind of cliffhanger you're. I mean, you can wait 10 minutes.
John from Seattle talked about the Junkie Gathering. We're bringing it back. It's this year, May 23rd through 27th. If you'd like to join us for 4 or 5 days of fun here, we're going to do a lot of activities and hang out and drink and party and go to some fights, watch some fights on TV, and you're going to get to hang out with a lot of fighters and MMA notables. We've talked about it before. If you have any questions, reach out to us at MMAjunkie George, at the Goze on Twitter.
I worked on it a lot this weekend.
Did you?
Well, yeah, I had to tell Mitrione to skip out on that fight so that they could possibly reschedule it for Memorial Day weekend.
Oh,
That
okay.
we'll have something to watch on Saturday.
Right.
That took a lot of planning. And finally, when we got that done, maybe we'll have that card.
All right. So there's no one to thank here because we didn't have any guests, but we knocked it out of the park with calls. Jersey Mike, Brandon from Louisville, Showtime, Marco, Muhammad, Brian, Aaron, Paul, John. Great stuff, man. And I'm glad that we were able to get through basically all the little subplots from all of these shows and what's next for them. It's something that we don't do when we have guests. We have 5 days to fill, 2 hours a day, so we're going to come strong the rest of the week with the guests. Frank Mir, again, tomorrow in studio, and we'll join you then, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Until then, be champions.
I'm gonna keep on the run. I'm gonna have me some fun. It cost me my very last dime.